Who the heck is Beeple? What is an NFT? And what's with all the craze behind this new digital art? We'll be breaking it down in this video, the potential pros and cons about this as an investment, and is it right for you? So stay tuned to the end. We'll throw it all together and wrap it up. But if this is your first time here, my name's Nick. Welcome to Waste to Wealth. This is the market recap where we highlight key events that happen in the market over the past week. But before we hop into the video, I'd like to ask you a huge favor. If you learn something new or you get some value out of the video, smash that like button for me. It definitely helps me out and I would appreciate that. I would also appreciate if you consider hitting that subscribe button, turning that notification bell on. We do this every single week. Without any further ado, let's break down NFTs. I know it's been getting a lot of traction with that big one that sold $69 million, artist named Beeple. He's been doing NFTs, which is essentially, we'll break that down, but it's a digital art for 5,000 days straight. And he sold 5,000 pieces of his art altogether in digital form. So somebody is now the digital owner of that. But let's break it down. An NFT is a non-fungible token. So what makes this a little bit different than a piece of art that you can hang on your wall is that you're getting digital ownership of it. You would own the rights to that digital copy. Now, yes, somebody can go and download that and they can see it every day. And it's hard to monetize in terms of that component of it, but it's like having a copy of the artwork. It's like nobody's gonna ever have the original Mona Lisa, but they may have a copy of it in their place. And basically, you know, everybody wants that original Mona Lisa, so the value, the worth, the price tag on it is still the same. So non-fungible more or less means that it's unique and can't be replaced with something else. So like that Mona Lisa thing that we just talked about, nobody else is going to have a Mona Lisa if you owned it. So it's a one-of-a-kind trading card, a one-of-a-kind. Somebody may be able to get a copy or save the file on their computer, but nobody else can own it. So how do they work? At a very high level, the NFTs are a part of the Ethereum blockchain. And Ethereum, if you're not aware, is a cryptocurrency. It's similar to Bitcoin. It does have a little bit of different principles where it could potentially be the network that we move funds around in the future. That could definitely be a later video if you are interested in that. If you are, let me know down below. We can cover that later. But its blockchain supports these NFTs, which store extra information that makes them work differently from the coin, and it goes into blockchain. So essentially you're getting this file format on the blockchain network. It's showing that you have it, so it is creating this record on a ledger, so everybody would know that you are the rightful owner of that digital art. And is it worth picking up at a supermarket? Well, it can be anything digital, drawings, music, Twitter. We saw Jack Dorsey offering his first tweet. You can own his first tweet. I think the bids are starting out at around $2.5 million. So you can own the first tweet ever, which is a little bit crazy when you think about it, but it just shows where the world is going. So obviously we talked about the tweets here, but why is it similar? Why is it in the same ballpark as collecting art? And it's because you can kind of draw parallels between the digital world that we're creating and the real world. People want to be something that they're not in the real world, so they may pretend to do so in the digital world. They may do so by buying a different skin when it comes to playing games, upgrading your character in Roblox or whatever that scenario may be, making yourself look better than you actually are in the digital world is almost the same as in the real world. And obviously with the new craze behind blockchain and digital art, it's definitely creating a lot of momentum. And that kind of brings it up. This is one of the pieces that have saved, what this article is showing is that anybody can go in and save it. So this article, I believe, has a little bit more of a negative connotation, because why would you want to go and buy this piece of art when I can go and download it myself, view it when I want it? Well, it's the originality portion of it. It's the fact that you are the sole owner, and being that sole owner of Mona Lisa, it's basically just taking the same carbon copy of what we're having right now with the real world and changing it into the digital dynamic, for lack of a better word. But we've seen other leagues and other areas that have taken advantage of this. Not only Jack Dorsey with Twitter, Beeple has been kind of one of the main factors on the digital art side, but what the main benefactor is these NBA Top Shots. This is kind of how I was brought to the forefront about what an NFT was, and it's basically buying moments in a player's career. You own the highlight. So far people have spent $230 million buying these NBA highlights, which is absolutely incredible. I think the highest one to go so far is Lebron James highlight that sold for $200,000. It's a video of him dunking, posterizing somebody else. Pretty cool. But I don't know if it justifies $200,000 for me personally. Maybe being a Raptors fan, maybe that Kawhi shot against Philly in Game 6 where it drops at the buzzer, it hits the rim 3 or 4 different times and drops. Maybe that's worth $200,000 to me. Would I be a buyer of it? I'm not entirely sure. But it's showing the ability that we are now able to buy highlights and moments of sporting events. And with this, I know it was a partnership with a Canadian-based company that the NBA did with Dapper Labs, which is absolutely incredible. This whole concept is definitely pushing to the forefront where we could potentially be going. But I think the NHL is in talks about this potential, and I think there's other leagues that would definitely see what the NBA has done so far. They are sold out on the site. I think a pack is like $9 or $10 US. And you don't know what you're going to get, much like opening a trading card. We've also seen Rob Gronkowski. He's getting into the mix and he wants to be putting out his own NFTs. I think the original portion was getting Super Bowl moments of him online, people being able to own the digital component of him scoring a big touchdown, whether that was in the most recent Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Bucks or going back all the way to New England. And what I want to talk about now is this an investment? From reading this article, they did have some interesting research. It is a little bit of an older article, but I think the premise stays the same. And the theory and the thesis behind it has probably been escalated a little bit in the past, year or so, where we've seen different assets like housing prices, trading cards kind of blow up. I think this falls right in line. And we can see here a growing number of wealth managers, 78% in 2015 versus only 55% in 2014. Think art and collectibles should be a part of an overall wealth management strategy. We can come down further in the article to see what the comparable returns are. So we can see another key consideration is the long-term financial performance. Obviously, we want to buy and hold. We want to be long-term investors. That's my personal preference when it comes to investing. But the data shows that equities perform better than art over the long term. Over the past 20 years, the MEI Moses World Art All Index posted a compounded annual growth rate of 5.3 versus 8.3 for the S&P 500 total return. That gap narrows over the past 50 years, where the all art index returned 7.9 and the S&P did 9.7. So on a long-term scale of things, art is returning around 7% year over year. The S&P is outperforming at 9.7%. So there is a little bit of a gap and definitely a preference when it comes to equities versus art. But if you look at it at a diversified portfolio, you would definitely think to own both art and both equities. But obviously you would need to be passionate about it. There needs to be a sense of, I know what I'm buying and why I'm buying it. You're not going to go and buy a Lebron James slam dunk against, a terrible team and hope that it's going to hit $1 million. You're probably going to want to buy more key moments or find a piece of a tweet that might be, worth it. But obviously, it's making the right decision, like it is in investing in everyday life. For me personally, I will probably not look to move into this space, but I want to be as, equal in the middle here to provide you with the information. Is that art is definitely a trend that does provide good returns. And that is obviously, hard art that you can hold in your hand. But the way that the trend is moving, I definitely see this being on the same page as digital art. So let's just consider this as one group. Obviously, the con is that you can go on YouTube, watch that LeBron James moment at any time. Why do you actually physically need to be the owner? We'll bring it back. We'll say, well, you can get a copy of the Mona Lisa or you can get the actual Mona Lisa. Which one do you want? Do you want to watch the LeBron James highlight or do you want to actually own it? That's where the differentiator comes into play. So that gives you a little bit of a breakdown. Again, like I mentioned, it's probably not for me personally, but I definitely see, where this could potentially go. So if you are interested, I don't want to be a naysayer. It's definitely something I will be watching intently to see. But that wraps it up for me. The pros, the cons. It all depends on whether you think it is valuable and whether you think somebody will pay more money in the future than you paid for today. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're still with me, definitely hit that like button for me. And if you haven't already, consider hitting that subscribe button, turning that notification bell on. We do this every single week. I hope you all have a great week in the markets. Happy trading.